Today I'm joined by Rovell Gaither. His denim bags have become popular online and regularly sell out in their entirety. He's designed for multiple celebrities, and through that has come some drama, but he pushes on to create more incredible bags. And yet, this has all happened in the last only few years. It's an incredible story, one ripe for business growth. So Rovell is here to tell us all about the ins and outs. Hi.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, doing pretty good. I can't complain literally at all.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business before we go into this so people know what you're about?
Yeah, so I am 22, my name's Rovell. I am currently an accessories designer using denim, sometimes canvas every now and then. I started my business 3 years ago. February 26th of this year marks my 3-year anniversary, and it's been a crazy journey.
Wow.
But yeah, I hand make my denim accessories on my sewing machine that's behind me right here, and located in the Bay Area. And um, yeah, that's really about it.
Nice. So let's start with why denim?
Honestly, it wasn't like a decision that I made, like, oh, my brand's gonna be denim. It just happened that when I got into bag making, which I was inspired to make my bag, the first bag that I made that started all of this because one of my mom's friends came over and she had a really cool sling bag on. And I had been wanting a sling bag for a while and I had just got back into sewing. So I was like, you know what, I want a sling bag. I'm getting back into sewing. Why don't I try to make my own? And then I had some leftover denim fabric in my closet, and I was like, since this is like my first time doing this, I'm gonna use fabric that I have so I don't have to go out and buy anything. And I used that, and it really kind of just started the core of my brand, which is denim, because
Mm.
I love denim. I've always loved working with it, and it just kind of happened. It wasn't like I said, "Oh, I'm gonna use denim." It just like I had it, I used it, and I loved it, and I was like, "This is what I like to work with. This is what I want to do."
Is that the denim? So you basically in another interview you said that you started kind of with fashion in the second year of high school, and that was clothing, fashion clothing. And then I saw on
Yes.
Instagram that you had painted a pair of denim jeans that you'd made, the first pair of denim jeans that you made.
Yeah.
So was that where the denim came from?
Um, Actually, I don't. No, that was not where the denim for that one came from. That was a completely different project. The denim that I used for my first ever bag was like a project where I had made like a really long denim trench coat, and I made like fray letters that I put on the back or something like that. But those were two completely different denim projects. But I used to work with denim all the time because again, I've always loved denim. Which is kind of like a weird full circle moment because I've always used to work with it when I was making clothes, but now I'm doing it in bags.
I'm gonna need to see photos of that coat. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen photos of
I
it.
don't even think I have photos. I don't even think I have the trench anymore. Because it was so bad. It was so terrible. And I wore it around my school campus like I was just the flyest, like I was the dopest person on earth. And I'm like, you literally weren't doing anything. Like it was embarrassing.
So is that why you switched to bags?
No. So I got into sewing, making clothes in high school. That's how I got into sewing in general. And then me and my friends, we started a fashion club. We were doing that for 2 years. And then I graduated high school. And once I graduated, I kind of stopped sewing. I was making funny videos on Instagram doing that. I just kind of was like, okay, I'm not doing sewing anymore. And then I started doing college, things like that. And then one day, I think it was like 2 years after I graduated, my auntie asked me to make her a fur vest. And I was gonna say no because I was like, I haven't sewn in a long time. I haven't done this in a while. I don't know if I can do it. But something was like, I just do it. So we went fabric shopping. We couldn't find the fur color that she wanted, so we had to dye the fur and everything. And doing that whole process really made me fall back in love with sewing again. And I was like, why have I all these years I've been figuring out what I want to do, and sewing's been here the whole time, and I haven't been doing it. So um, that project got me back into sewing. And then, like a few weeks after I had finished making the fur vest for her, that's when my mom's friend came over and had the bag on. And I was like, why don't I try to make a bag? Since I'm sewing again, let me start, trying to make bags or make this bag. And then once I finished making that one, I was like, this is pretty dope. Why don't I start an Etsy shop? And then from there, that's kind of how everything
Ah.
started. Yeah, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm just gonna start making bags. It kind of just happened. And then while I was making the bag, I was like, I should do it Etsy because I was also looking for a job at that time. I was having literally no luck. Nobody would hire me at all. I applied to like 30 different jobs. I even got rode a bus to one and got turned down in my face and had to ride the bus back home. And I was like, are you serious? And they were begging for people to come work for them because this was like in the beginning of the pandemic. Everyone was quitting and stuff and they needed workers. I went there to do the interview because they were literally begging for employees and I still got turned down. I was like, this is literally crazy. So in the middle of me making the bags, I'm looking for a job. And I was like, I'm looking for a job. Why don't I start an Etsy as well and sell these and see how that goes? So that's really how all of it started.
And that is when you started the business?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I made my first bag, and then literally within days, I had my Etsy shop up with that bag up there
Wow.
that people could buy and stuff like that.
So is that when you registered for your business? Because I know that you don't have to register until you hit a certain threshold.
Yeah, no, I did not register for my business at all. I was really just freeballing it. Literally. I honestly didn't even expect to really even have gotten this far. I was just like, oh, I was like, oh, I need a job. I need money. I can do this. But I also in the back of my head was like, okay, I'll just do this as a hobby. Like, yeah, I always thought
Right.
it would be like side income. It wouldn't be like, main full income and things like that. So it
When
wasn't, I really didn't have any plan going into this.
so when did it kind of turn into a business for you? When you made your website or hats or
So because I started my Etsy and I only got one sale the full time that my Etsy was up, and it was from my friend. So I think I had my shop up for like 4 or 5 months before I started my own website, and I was like, oh, maybe people aren't buying because I need my own. I want to be more professional, have a website, and I also just
Mm.
didn't like the fees that Etsy was doing and just the algorithm. I didn't like Etsy, so I was like, I'd rather have my own stuff. So I started my website, and then when I first opened, I had bucket hats that I was offering for sale. And the first day, I got two. Was it? I got two orders the first day that I opened my website, both from
Wow.
my friends, and it still didn't feel like a business at that point. And sometimes it still doesn't feel like a business, even to this day, because that's like I'm doing what I love. But I wouldn't say that it really started to feel like a business once I had to pay them taxes. That's really when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm doing a business because I'm paying taxes, and it was like, yeah, that's I would probably say that's when it started to feel like a business for real.
That's quite an achievement though. You have to make a certain amount of money to have to pay taxes. So as a sole trader, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was just like, really for me, it was like, because when I first started dealing with taxes and things like that, I was like, this is so confusing. It's like a new world. I don't know anything. And it was like giving me
Mm.
anxiety to like even go dive into that. So I don't even really know if I hit threshold to even be filing for taxes, but I felt like it was something that I had to do as a business owner. So I still went ahead and learned how to do that. Now I'm really running a business because when you pay taxes and you see those numbers and you're like, whoa, like it's not all fun and games sometimes.
Just to skip forward a little bit, although not that much because it's only been 3 years, you tend to make bags in a series of however many, but then you don't restock them when they sell out. Is that an intentional strategy?
In some cases, yes. So the reason why I do that is because when I first started my brand, I was like, I want to make unique pieces. Or when I first started, I was like, I want to do unique pieces, stuff that a lot of people don't have, a lot of people haven't seen. So I still kind of like to stick to that. So when people buy from me, it's like, okay, this is not a mass produced piece. 100 people aren't going to have this bag. But I also do that because I don't like making the same thing over and over. I'm hand making all of these products. So I'll make a few of a design. And then once it's done, it's done. I'm already moved on to the next piece. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, can you restock this? Can you restock this?" And it's like I can, but it's at the same time, it's like I just don't want to because I don't like once I make something, it's like I'm ready to move on to the next thing because I feel like I can't grow in my skill if I'm just continuously making the same thing. And that's why I feel like I've kind of grown really fast in my skill because I'm always going to the next project. A lot of designers, they make stuff and they find out that they have a hit product and they're like, oh, let me keep making this because I'm just going to keep making this money. But then they don't grow a lot in skill because they're not trying different things. So I would love if it would be possible for me to be able to make more items, but it's like I just can't as one person and trying to continuously jump to different designs and stuff like that.
Especially considering you are the manufacturer. You sew everything.
Exactly. And then for me as well, I do that because sometimes, my sales, they're not consistent all the time. So it's like I can make something and it may not sell for that fast, or I don't know how long it's going to sell. I don't know, how people are going to react to it. So it's like I'm not going to make 10 pieces of a bag if I know only maybe two people are really going to buy and the rest is just going to sit on my site for a while. So it's like I make smaller quantities just so I'm not wasting my time and materials on things that are just going to sit for a long time.
Do you ever think about making a tech pack and getting them manufactured elsewhere?
It's crossed my mind, but thinking about it gives me anxiety because it's like I've been doing it myself for so long, and it's like I don't even know how to start that process of like what to even do for that. I don't. It just gives me anxiety thinking about it. It's crossed my mind a lot, especially as my business grows. But yeah, I don't know about that one for right now.
It's definitely a choice to stay as a sole trader. It makes your products more luxurious in a way, more exclusive.
Yes.
Did you ever think about maybe making a supplementary, maybe like a diffusion line where you would send that off to a manufacturing house, say bucket hats?
Definitely as my business grows, I've thought about this a lot, like, how I want to carry my business moving forward in the future. And in the future, I would love to be able to have pieces that, of course, would be manufactured that I have on my site that I'm selling all the time. And, that's just like a staple piece to
Mm.
my brand. And then, on the side, I'm still doing stuff that I'm designing and working with a team of people who can also help me make those so I can also make more quantities of those things. So those would be the things that, I'm selling in limited edition type stuff. And then, I have my main pieces that are manufactured that I have available all the time. So that would be a goal in the future, but of course that wouldn't be to come for a while. So
But still everything in house?
yes, because I feel like when it's in house, you have more control of, I don't know, you have more control over things, and it's when you can feel and touch and you just have more control over what's going on and stuff like that. So I don't like the idea of just relinquishing all the control to a manufacturer and putting my trust in their hands that, oh, this can be done. Of course, if you have like a good manufacturer, you don't really have to worry about that because you have some of the highest skilled people working at these factories. But I just don't like the idea of that as of right now as a smaller designer. I just don't like it.
So it sounds like what you're describing is an atelier for bags.
Yeah, honestly, that's really the goal. Oh yeah, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you should mass produce this, you should mass produce that." And it's like mass production isn't really something that I feel I would even really want to do because I feel like it kind of takes away from the specialness of the design and what it is and like art pieces because I feel like what I'm doing is making art and I don't really think mass production and good art really go together at least for longevity and stuff like that.
Right. It very much reminds me of the quality quantity
Exactly. So I feel
graph.
like once you go for quantity, you're kind of decreasing the quality. But if you're going for quality, then of course, decreasing the quantity would make it better, but it also makes it more special to the people who do have it.
Right. Scarcity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a 5-year goal, 15-year goal. Do you have kind of things set in motion? The smile.
Honestly, it really every day is a different day, and I feel like thinking that far out in advance is just something that's too hard for me to even do because I really wasn't even expecting to be doing this for this long at this level that I'm currently even at right now. So planning for years down the line, of course I have goals and things that I would like, but it's so hard to say in 5 years I want this because it's like you can have a timeline in your head, but the universe is a totally different thing. Like your timeline is not that timeline. So you could want
Mm.
something in 2 months, but it won't happen for 10 years. So it's just like I can't, it's hard for me to say like, oh, in 5 years I want to have that. But it's definitely a goal um of mine. It could happen faster and it could happen slower. I really don't know, but it's a goal.
And it's an extremely expensive goal as well. You think,
Exactly. Like that is because I would love to have my own manufacturing pretty much where it's like
Mm.
when I say like I would like to have pieces manufactured, it's like I own the manufacturing. So I'm not outsourcing to another manufacturer. I own it and I have people who are working under me to, have it. Because I want to have that control over my design and pieces and things like that.
And that's a lot of people you'd have to hire. I mean, you'd think you'd need people for the
Yes, a lot of
looms.
people and a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible goal if you can get it there. I mean, countless other people
Yeah,
have managed
definitely.
to. I'm interested then in your pricing strategy because obviously you're going to need to sell a lot of quantity of bags in order to fund this goal of yours. So let's talk about just what is your pricing strategy now?
So, are you talking about like for how I price my items and things like that,
Yes.
or just like? So for me, my prices for my items are time and materials. That's
Right.
like really the main um, two things that I go off to price my items. So I have an app that I use on my iPad. So during the whole process of me working on a piece, I'm timing myself. So I set a timer for pattern making. That's one different breakdown. I set a time for testing the pattern. And if I have to do any fixes and things like that, pre production, which is cutting out all my fabric, materials, getting all my hardware together, doing all my embroidery, threading machine, all that is pre production, interfacing, and then actual production, sewing everything together, how long that takes. So combine, I'll combine all of that time up and then pay myself by an hourly rate. And then I'll add in the cost of materials for those pieces as well. So then that's how I get my price breakdown. And of course, as I go along, my prices are going up as I pay myself more. And then, of course,
Mm,
eventually as I start adding in profit margins, because right now my
right.
stuff is definitely getting more pricier, but it's also to the point to where it's like I'm not making a lot of money or enough to where I feel like okay, I've made enough on this piece, or just enough to continue the business to keep going. So definitely going to start upping the prices, and I have recently as the time's been going and as my skill gets better and as I'm
Good.
investing in more expensive materials and things like that.
Cool. If people don't know what Rovell is talking about, he's talking about the production cost. So that's everything from his time, the materials, etc., everything he just said. And then what usually happens in retail is that they will take all of that cost, say it's $2, and they will times it by two to get the
To get a
estimated
profit
retail
margin.
price. And then they will times it again by two if it goes into like a retail store. So a lot of the time it's about a quarter. However, with a sole trader like Rovell, it is significantly reduced. Zara can make a much, much bigger profit margin than a sole trader can, especially a small designer.
Exactly. And the thing that's crazy to me, because there's been times where I get bashed for my prices that I have now. And when someone was like, oh, like your pieces are beautiful, but you're definitely upcharging. And I'm like, no, I'm definitely not upcharging. In fact, I should be upcharging, but I'm not. So all you're paying for is my time and the materials that went into this. That's it. I'm not adding any additional things on that as of right now. So it's kind of a good deal, honestly, for all of the work and stuff that goes into it.
It's a couture bag.
Yeah, it's a really like, and that's another thing that I say to the people who support me or just watch my stuff and haven't bought anything. Like, I wish you could feel the quality of it in person because you can't get the full aspect of the bag all through a screen. Like, just holding it and feeling it and like everything. It's really good quality, and I that's one thing I say that I wish people could feel through the screen because if you were to feel it, I feel like a lot of people would be like, okay, yeah, I definitely can understand the price and things like that, not just by looking at it and be like, oh, it's a cool design, but if you feel it as well, it's like, okay, this is definitely worth it.
Okay, so let's talk about sourcing. Where do you get your denim? I know you use selvage denim a lot.
Yeah, so I use quite a few different denims. I like selvage denim. That's more when I want to do really for selvage denim, I use that on smaller bags because it only goes up to like 30 inches in width.
Right.
Because I don't want to butcher like the exact way it's made, but I'm pretty sure it's made by hand on machines by people who have to operate it. So it's a little bit more expensive and stuff like that. But I also get my denim from a company in New York. They're based up in New York. I get it from him. I contact the owner sometimes if I want to try out a swatch or like try a different type of denim before I go in and buy a full 10 yards, 20 yards, however much I'm going to get. So I'll get swatches from them and stuff like that. But in the beginning of my business, I was really just going to like Joann's and Hobby Lobby and stuff like that and getting denim from there. And then sometimes when I would go, they wouldn't have the denim. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? Like, I can't get a denim. So I was like, I need to start going online and finding manufacturers or people that I can get denim from. So I started looking around. I found the company that I go through now, and the quality is amazing. It's dope. I love it. And that's what I do now. And then sometimes I even go on Etsy. I've There's been a few times where I bought from this one manufacturer. They're in I want to say like Hong Kong, or I can't remember, but there's somewhere up there in that area, and I get it from them, and it's selvage denim. They make it there, and it's really good quality. I love it. So I really kind of get it all over the place. It depends on if I'm what I come across and what I like. So it's not really like a main specific source, but really my main place that I'm getting it right now is through the people in New York.
Do you add this R&D, research and development, time and effort into your production costs?
As of right now, no. Which is another thing in the future that I'm definitely going to start doing. And the reason
Mm,
why I haven't been doing all of that is because as a smaller designer, it's really hard to sell items that are of a higher price, especially when you're building your business. So, like, if you're starting out and no one's watching your stuff and you're selling stuff for $3,000, it's going to be a lot harder to get that sale than if you were selling it starting out like $200, $300. So for me, it's like I feel like I'm working my way up to the more higher price points.
mm.
Because when I first started out, I was selling stuff for like $50, $75. That would take me weeks to make, and I'm like, this is not gonna work. So then I start upping the price. But as of right now, I'm not adding in any of that stuff, but I definitely will be soon.
So brand equity definitely comes into it then.
Yes, most definitely.
That's a really interesting way to start your pricing strategy for a small designer. I think any other small designers maybe watching this could take that as a great point of advice.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you, like, let's say for instance, when you come across a designer, right, and let's say you're scrolling on TikTok or something, you see a designer, they made something, it looks really cool. You go to the page, you're like, oh, I might want to buy this. You go on their website, that's the only thing they have. That's like the only thing they made, and they're selling it for $2,500. You're like, okay, like, where's your portfolio? Like, what are people saying? Like, you have to build your way up to these certain price points. And I feel like for certain things, depending on what you're making, what it is, it's different for each area of fashion. Like, if you're doing hand beading and lace and things like that, of course it's going to be a little bit more expensive, because that takes a really long time and it's a really high skill craft. So certain areas of fashion are going to be more expensive, but I feel like working your way up to a higher price point is the best way, because people are seeing you put in the time, effort, and energy into getting better at your craft. And, they feel like, okay, he's charging what he's worth now, instead of just coming out of the gate selling stuff for thousands of dollars instead of working your way up.
Right, especially I remember a quote from somewhere, I don't remember where it was from, that you can always decrease the prices. You can have a
Exactly.
sale, a code, whatever, but you can't increase the prices after the initial price has been established.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too. There was someone, I did a sale recently, which I never do. Honestly, I did it just to get rid of stuff that I had on my site, and it was the new year. And I had a piece that I sold for like $400, and I did like three of those bags, and then someone had bought that piece at full price, and then when I had a sale, I think I put it at like maybe 40% off, and it was like 235 then, and they were like sent me like a crying face, like, "Oh, I paid the full price, and now it's 235." So, that's definitely a true saying, because once you have a price that's high, that's setting people's minds like, okay, this is what it's worth. But then when you lower it, it's like, wait, is it really worth that amount, or did you really just upcharge it? So it's definitely a game that it's a risky game.
It's tricky, especially for a young designer. You probably, I mean, I'm so sure you get comments and things about why you price things a certain way or
Oh, all
how
the time.
expensive they are. Yeah, it's even on your frequently asked questions on your site. So,
Yes, that I had to make that, because people would email me sometimes, be like, "Why is your stuff so expensive?" And I'm like, "Dude, do you expect to get pay $10 for all the work that I'm doing?" Like, people really are so used to buying fast fashion and things like that, and paying, literally nothing for this stuff. But then when they come over to smaller brands, that they expect that same thing, but good quality at the same time. So it's just like, I'm not working for free, and I'm not making terrible quality items. Like, it's really good quality, it's hard work, and I deserve to get paid for it.
definitely, especially considering like you would expect the same price point from something that was manufactured in a factory. Your price points are not
Exactly.
high.
And the crazy thing about it is that a lot of higher end brands, they're paying barely anything to get these items manufactured and not having the best qualities. And then they're selling their stuff for thousands of dollars, and people don't bat an eye at that because of the brand that it is. So, and then they come over to small designers and like, oh, like you're selling it for that much. Who do you think you are? Like I had people who would be like, "Oh, I love your bag, but you're not so and so, so I don't think I'm going to shop." So that's another thing small designers go through. Like people have this idea that it's only worth spending that much money if it's with a higher end brand, and that's not the case all the time because a lot of the times the quality isn't the best. They're definitely upcharging a lot more. They paid probably $100 for it, and they're selling it for thousands of dollars. But they don't bat an eye at that because it's so and so brands.
People forget that the brand equity goes into the production costs. That then gets
Exactly.
times by two and times by two again when it is the big
Exactly.
brands.
Because these companies are not going to lose out on their money at all. They're going to get their money. They don't care whatever. Like if they feel like, they want to raise the price to keep a certain audience out, they're going to do it because they're going to make their money. And they know that they're not going to do anything that's going to stop them from making their money. So they have these high price items and they're charging it the X times two times five, whatever, because they're making their money back. They want to make that money. So it's a crazy thing. It really is.
I
Especially
mean,
once you start learning about it and then you're like, wait, that's not
yeah,
fair.
yeah,
But
completely.
it is what it is.
I mean, they can do it, but you can also do it in the future too, you know? You build the brand equity, you
And
benefit
that's
off of the
another
system.
thing too. Right. It's like again, like I was saying, you have to build your way up to those prices. So it's like it's fair, but it's like it's not fair, but then it's also like these brands have been around for so long and have built their name and legacy way before I was probably even thought of. So it's like
Yeah.
they definitely have the right to sell at that price point because it's like they worked their way up to that.
But the tides are changing. People are seeing this, they're noticing it, and the girls are buying a lot of small designers. I know that's a massive thing coming into 2023.
Definitely, like as much as us small designers can complain, there's a huge audience of people who are searching for small designers because they are tired of the bigger brands because it's like it's boring, it's expensive, and it's just not anything really new in a sense. It's like fast fashion and high end fashion are kind of like have kind of merged over the
Right,
years in a way,
right.
and it's like especially because a lot of fast fashion is just taking from high end fashion, but it also seems like nowadays the high end fashion is designing to try to keep up with the fast fashion. So it's kind of like people are like, okay, I don't want to spend so much money on this when I can go to a small designer and get something totally unique that's not mass produced and things like that. So there is definitely a large audience now for
Mhm.
small designers in what we are creating. Definitely.
But that doesn't mean that we are excluded from having to increase our brand equity as small designers. So,
Exactly.
how do you go about it? How do you build your brand equity? Except for time, which we know.
Me, I really emphasize and stress for me that I'm making everything. That's one thing I guess
Hmm.
I can say is that I let people know like I'm literally making this. And that when you let people know that and when you're making really amazing stuff, they're like, whoa, like you're one person making this. And to them, they value it a lot more because it's like, this is amazing. You're making it and it's like you're doing everything yourself. So for me, I guess that would be it. But again, in the future, it would be hard if I were to not be doing everything myself because people's value, what they've associated my brand with, is being handmade.
But I think what you've done is you've just missed a huge factor of what you're doing for your brand because you have put it out there. You've gone onto social media and you have grown this following, this family of people that are interested in what you're doing, and that builds brand equity.
Yeah, definitely. And social media is really like a huge part of my business because that is, how I promote my business. I'm not, outside handing out flyers, things like that. Like, oh, I'm a designer, da 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 da. I'm really on social media, so yeah, that's definitely can be for brand equity. And I've been around on social media for a long time, way before I've been in bag making. So for me, when I started bag making, it came natural, just to start using social media to build up a following because I've done it so many times with past projects and hobbies and things like that. So Yeah, I did just, start making videos, putting myself out there and just like, hey, I make bags, I do this, I'm a denim designer, I feel like nowadays that's how you get your brand out there. So yeah, I guess that can be building value and things like that.
It probably just comes so natural to you because you're young and you
Yeah,
grew
that's
up
what
with it, right?
yeah, that's why I'm like, for me, it's like I don't feel like I'm doing it. It's just so natural because, I've been doing social media for so long. I used to do way back in the day. I mean, make YouTube videos. I was a Viner, I made funny videos on Instagram. Like, I've been on social media for so long. So, coming on social media and being in front of the camera doing this, it's so natural to me that it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything outside of what I normally would do. So, um, that's why I was so confused because I was like, I don't really feel like I'm doing anything because I just do what I do and then it just works out.
A really big positive to being young. You think that so many of these big brands have incredibly had hard times trying to get on social media. The amount
Oh
of
yeah.
times we've seen brands fail or make some kind of social media blunder, whereas it does come so much more naturally to these new younger designers that are coming up now.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, you have to think like bigger brands, they're not really used to the side of social media. So it's like the saying that, how people say it's like turning a big ship around, it's like
Yeah.
it's a lot harder and slower for, these bigger brands to make an appearance on social media. And I've been seeing a lot of brands nowadays are trying to do that by using a lot of TikTok influencers and just Instagram influencers to promote their pieces to get more of that social media audience and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of brands are, a lot of the bigger brands are on social media. It's just not content that a lot of people who use social media in today's time, at least a younger audience, want to consume. It's more of like
Right.
the older audience. For me, I feel like I like my content to not feel like a business, if that makes sense. Like when I'm on social media, I try to make it feel like you're just watching someone who loves to make bags and happens to sell them on the side. That's what I want people to feel like when they come to my page. I don't want them to be like, oh, I'm looking at an ad. Oh, they're just trying to sell this. Like, because that's what it feels like when you go on a bigger brand's page. It's like, oh, okay, all these professional photos and things like that. Like, it literally feels like I'm looking at a catalog. But when you come to my page, it's like, oh, I might be doing a funny video over here, doing something stupid, or I'm sewing, showing you what I'm doing, or I'm talking about this, or here's a photo. And I realized that my engagement has been a lot better once I started flipping over to not trying to be so professional. Because when I was using Instagram, I had all the photos that I would have on my website is what I would post on Instagram, and the engagement would be so low. And I'm like, maybe people just don't want to see such professional things. So I just started setting up my bags on my sewing table and taking the photo on my phone and just uploading it that way. And the engagement is much higher than if I were to just post the bag with a white background and a shadow and it just looks so professional, clean lighting, all of that. So just learning how to use social media and be on it and what audience or what younger audience is looking at and what they're engaging with is really important when you're using your brand and stuff like that.
I really completely agree with your personal analysis of your social medias. I think that especially when you look at your YouTube channel and the way that you kind of vlog making your bags, I think that's a really interesting approach that I don't know if I've ever seen a brand do before.
I mean, I see a lot of, well, because I'm in a small designer community and I follow a lot of small designers. We do it. It's just not something that a lot of people know about. And for me, I feel like I can even almost vlog more and show more of the process. I feel like I don't show enough, but sometimes I feel like I have to kind of pull back and reserve a little bit more for myself because I feel like once I just start sharing everything, it just kind of, I don't know, if because filming everything is just such a process. So it kind of takes away from the fun of a lot of the stuff. Like I
Mm.
have so much more fun when I'm making a bag and I don't have to worry about filming and lighting and focusing this and making sure the camera's in angle and stuff like that. So when you're filming everything, kind of just takes away the fun from it. But a lot of style designers, at least now, are definitely starting to show their process in vlog because people want to see that type of stuff. People are interested in how things are made and what goes into certain things. At least I know I am. I love
Yeah.
watching that type of content, which is
The
why I make
people.
it.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Exactly. People want to know the people behind the brand. They want a brand humanized.
Exactly. And that's why I say this all the time. people nowadays are not connecting with a brand, they're connecting with the person.
Right.
So like, back in the days, I keep saying back in the days, like shitting on back in the days, but they people used to actually, connect with like Coca-Cola or something like that and like be obsessed with it. But nowadays, younger audiences aren't like that. They become more, they follow the person behind the
Mm.
brand. They want to know the person, what they're doing, how are you doing this, stuff like that. They like to see the person that's there, not just, oh, this is a brand. They want to see, oh, who's the person behind that.
I agree. I feel like these days it's a much harder sell to a consumer to sell a brand as opposed to selling something that is emotional.
Exactly. And that's
So,
really all what it comes down to.
yeah, I really agree. And I think that in the past, this was done through reaching out to other more maybe famous celebrities that were able to humanize the brand in that way. Like Coca-Cola would have famous adverts with certain celebrities. I know Marilyn Monroe did the Chanel perfume, for example. These
Exactly, because guess what? If the consumer sees that this person that they love is using that product and they're promoting it, it's like, oh, that must be amazing. I love this person. Let me go out and buy that. And it's kind of different nowadays. It's like, okay, the person it's not different because, we still have that aspect with like influencers and things like that, but it's
right.
not as how it was back then.
It's evolved.
Definitely. It's,
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's just on a different platform, I guess you could say.
totally. And you've had some experience with stylists before as well, right?
I had an experience,
Oh, just the
which
one?
was definitely one.
Okay,
Yeah, just one experience. And it did not go good at all. Literally did not go good.
okay, so if you wouldn't mind, would you like to tell us that story? Obviously, don't give any cause for defamation. Maybe miss a few names out here and
Yeah,
there.
because I definitely got a cease and desist over that whole situation. And I don't want them to feel like I'm going out and just bashing them. But I'm not gonna say any names. But
Mm,
I worked with a stylist, and it's just I sent out a piece. It was my first time working with one, and I put a lot of trust in that stylist, to do right by me as a small designer because it's my first time. I didn't know anything how it was gonna work, and they didn't want to send me my stuff back, and they were supposed to have sent it back, and they kept saying that they would, and they weren't, and they still at the same time while I was supposed to have had it back were posting on social media with my stuff. I'm
mm,
seeing it just blatantly in my face, like, posting my stuff while I'm supposed to have had it. And it really sucked because um, even now, I was just partnered with this brand, and I'm partnering with people or things like that. That always is going to play a part in how I feel moving forward now because it's my first time. So it's like now I always feel like someone's just out to play me and stuff like that. So it was I don't want to go too deep into it, but it was my first
sure.
time. I got burnt, but it was definitely a learning experience for both of us. I made videos about the whole situation and posted it, and it got a lot of attention. And I got sent the cease and desist to delete the videos because they were saying that I was lying to defame him and hurt his brand and things like that.
The stylist.
It was crazy.
So, how did that actually come about in the first place? Did they reach out to you?
Yes, they reached out to me. Yeah, it was via DM on Instagram.
Okay, so it wasn't like a professional email or anything sent. It was,
No, it wasn't in the email at all. It was through DM. It was actually through them on my personal page as well. So
okay.
it wasn't through my business page, it was through my personal. I guess they thought that if they reached out to me on my business, that I probably wouldn't respond. So they reached out through my personal.
So they reached out to you on your personal page, sent you a
Yeah.
message saying X celebrity wants to wear your stuff. You said, okay, sure, that's great promotion for my brand equity. Hello. You
Mhm.
sent it out to them and they didn't want to send it back.
Yeah. Or they kept saying that they would send it back and they never did.
And then
Well,
when they did send it
they
back,
ended up sending it back after I made videos about the whole situation. They sent it back. But 6 months. I was 6 months I went without my product
wow.
after the date we agreed on, I was supposed to have it back. So I sent it out in May and I was supposed to have it back, I think within like 2 weeks of me sending it out and didn't get back until when did I get it back? Like October, I want to
Wow.
say. it was months that it went by that I was supposed to have had it, and they were posting with my stuff, and I'm like, do you not like? I've DM'd you, I've told you like, hey, I would like my stuff back. It was just yeah,
Did you have any contracts
and
signed?
we went through a LOR, which is like a letter of what is it called?
Release?
Pretty much, yeah. I was pretty much stating like, oh, you're sending me this piece on this day. I'm supposed to have it back by this day. If I don't send it back by this day, or if I send it back damaged, here's my card information, charge that, and it was signed. But his signature wasn't even a real signature; it was a font, and he didn't put his card information on there. So when I'm looking at the agreement, I'm like, oh, everything looks fine. But again, this is my first time ever looking at something like this. I'm looking at it by myself, not with the legal team. I'm like, whoa, this looks fine. Like, this is cool. And then when he didn't send me my stuff back, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna charge you then. I went to go charge him. I couldn't because he didn't put all the card information there. So I was just like, wow, I was like, this is a learning lesson for me because I definitely should have been paying more attention, but I didn't go too hard on myself because I'm like, it's my first time, things
Right.
happen. And I sometimes almost regret even going about it the way that I did, even making it public and going about it, because I feel like a lot of people now look at me like, oh, like drama in a sense, because a lot of people's first time seeing my brand was through that drama. And I didn't like that aspect of it because honestly, I didn't expect the videos to do what they were gonna do.
Mm.
I really posted them because I'm like, hey, because I didn't at the time. I was like, I don't know if this person knows that their stylist is doing this. Like,
Right.
so I'm like, I want to reach out to the person, but they have so many followers, my DM's just gonna get lost. They're not gonna see it. So I reached out to. I'm not even gonna talk to. Yeah, it was just crazy. It was a crazy experience.
How did it affect
I don't want
your
to say too
brand
much
then?
because I don't want them to start talking about some. Oh, you're going on here bashing me. You're defending. I don't know because I already got a cease and desist. I did take the videos down though, so yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't want to also, you know what I mean? I don't want to
Yeah.
push. Yeah, I don't want to push. Okay. So, how did the situation affect your brand?
Honestly,
I
it
mean,
didn't
more
affect it
awareness.
positively. I would say, like, I didn't get anything really from the situation. Like, then the crazy thing about it is that the person kept saying, "Oh, you're using my name for likes and views." Da, 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 da. It's like I don't need to use your name for likes and views. Like, yeah, I'm getting likes and views, but that's not helping me at all in my business. Like, yeah, I got a lot of followers and things. Not even a lot. It was like I got some followers, some likes and views, da 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 da. But it's more so because of the situation, not because of me. So I feel like it more so affected it negatively because a lot of people were like, oh, because and that was another reason why I didn't want to share that experience because I was like, I don't want people to look at me like, oh, you're just some stupid person because you should just pay more attention. You're not about your business. That was another thing where I had to let go of that because that was really the reason why I didn't, because it's like, it's embarrassing for me to have to come out and say, oh, I didn't check to make sure all the card information was there. I didn't check to make
Mm.
sure everything was real and legit. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's your fault. That's your fault. You just being stupid." And there's stylists now who are, work with him who I can guarantee you are looking at me because I don't know what he's told them. I feel
Mm.
like he has told people, that I'm making this up, that was never the case, da 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 da. So I feel like people have this idea that I'm just a clout chaser, lying for views and stuff like that. And it's like that's not what happened at all. That's not the case. So I feel like it affected it more negatively than it did positively because I feel like now, opportunities and people or things that I could have had chances to work with in the future can now be burnt. Like a bridge has been burnt more
Right.
so than stuff like that.
After this situation, do you have any advice then going forward, either for yourself or for other people that are looking into celebrity endorsement?
Definitely. First, make sure you are not spending your money. Do not spend your money on instances like that. Do not spend your money either to ship the item, pay for them to ship it back, anything like that. Do not spend any of your money out of your pocket. They should be handling all of that. Also, make sure the contracts and agreements are legit. Everything's right. You're protected on your end. All the information that you need is there, and just also for me, my mistake was being so open and actually telling that stylist that, oh, this is my first time doing this. Like,
Mm.
even though, because I'm a really honest person, like that's just how I am in nature. So I'm just a really honest person. Like if it's my first time doing something, I'm not gonna fake it and act like, oh, I've done this before. I'm so skilled at this. But sometimes in business, you have to act like that because if not, people are like, oh, this is your first time. Oof, we can get over on them, stuff like that. So just make sure you don't let people know if it's your first time. Act like you know what you're doing when you're going into business and things like that. Because if not, it most likely won't turn out good.
Business bluff.
Exactly. Business bluff for real. For real.
So there's something else that you said much earlier on in the interview. You said that maybe you were partnering with a brand.
Well, not really partnering with a brand. It's not really. I feel like I missed said that. So, I partnered with a showroom to have my pieces in there where stylists can go and pull pieces, and myself would be featured on, up and coming artists and celebrities and things like that, and editorial shoots and stuff like that. So, it's Prim Magazine. They're a black owned magazine out of New York. And they work with a lot of up and coming artists, a lot of people who are established, and it's fully black owned, and it's just amazing. It's cool.
How did that come about?
Someone emailed me from there, and they emailed me and was, like, oh, celebrity placement, stuff like that. That was the title of the email. And I was like, celebrity placement, like, that's interesting. So then I clicked on it, read the email, and went over everything. And at first, I stepped on it and at first I was like, I'm not going to do that because the situation from before, before I go into stuff, I'm always like, I don't want to do it. I don't even want to do it because I don't want the chance getting burnt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was set on the email for a little while, and I was like, you know what? Let me just, see what they're talking about. So I talked with the people. We booked and scheduled a call. We talked. They went over everything, or the person went over, how the business goes, what they do, how they handle everything. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I gave it a chance, and we'll see what happens.
That's really exciting. So that means that maybe celebrities could pick up your pieces and I am assuming you wouldn't know?
Um, for
Maybe
the
it's like
most
a log
part,
out?
because it's also in New York, so I'm in the Bay Area, so it's like I can't. I wish I would have been able to go there and maybe check everything out. Which, if I ever go to New York, I probably will. But it's a showroom, so pretty much, the magazine they host shoots at the showroom for their magazine. So every week they have new people coming in for editorial shoots and things like that. And they work with the magazine showroom that I'm working with. They work with a bunch of small designers, to try to help them, bring an audience to their work. So they have the showroom, and for their shoots, they only pull pieces from that showroom of small designers that they're working with. So um, they'll do shoots, they pull the pieces from the designers that they're working with, put them on the pieces, put them on the people, have the shoots, post it, tag it, all that type of stuff. So not only that, but they also have stylists who go to the showroom and look around and pull pieces from there and things like that. So it's kind of like a two-in-one in a sense.
That's awesome. I haven't heard of this program before, personally.
Yeah, so it's Print Magazine. I would say they're a little bit more newer. They've done shoots with a lot of people, some really cool people, and yeah, it's really cool. I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
In that regard, then, what is your kind of plan for the next year, this 2023, and then moving forward from that? You say you want to get to the manufacturing plant. What's maybe before that?
I really just want to drop back-to-back bangers. So, like every piece that I want to put out, I just want it to be something that's like this is like amazing. Like I told myself that's something that I really like this. I want to do that all the time, not even just this year, but I told myself this year, like I really want to step it up and make some dope stuff and just really grind and get myself out there more. So that's why, I'm trying all these new things to just try to get my name out there. So really just more so brand awareness for me this year.
Mm.
Um, and then after that, I would say um, learning how to make it more, I wouldn't say easier for me, but learning how to make certain parts or processes of running my business a little bit more smoother and not so stressful for me. So, like, let's say Product photos. I hate taking product photos, but I still do them because I have to. Having someone else do product photos, or relinquishing that over to someone else, or like duster bags. I always say this all the time. I make duster bags for all of my bags for them to go in. I hate making them. I don't want to do it. Just having someone else do that, learning how to kind of have people come in and help me do certain things, that would also be something that I really want to do, like ASAP, because it would just make the process so much easier.
Outsourcing.
Outsourcing, that's the word. I was trying to find the word while I was talking, but not making myself like fumble. But yes, outsourcing.
That's really, yeah, I think that's probably, if I was to come on and like advise your business, that's 100% what I would suggest. Definitely.
Definitely, because I mean, doing everything yourself, like in the beginning, it seems all like, oh, that's just the smartest thing to do because I don't have to pay anyone. I don't have to worry about anyone messing up. But as you go and you grow, you're like, I really need somebody else because it's like, recently I kind of had to learn to step back from everything and take care of myself because it gets to a point, like when you're designing and doing everything, you kind of just don't, it's like you put more work, you put so much time into your work that you forget to take care of yourself. So
Yes.
I kind of been learning to step back, take care of myself and not, just put myself to the side and put my business to the forefront. So I've been learning how to kind of balance those two things recently and taking, like recently for this last project that I just did, I took a lot more time to get it done because I wasn't up all day, every day sewing, not eating and things like that. Like I was actually taking time to take care of myself while working as well. So um, that would be another thing, just not feeling like I have to rush so much to get everything out. Because for me, I'm like, oh, I need to hurry up and get this out so I can move on to something else because I need to just keep going because when you're using social media, you have to factor in algorithms, and
Yeah.
if you're not posting, you're going to get lost in the algorithm. And if I don't have anything new, I don't have anything really to post. So it's like I would just put so much pressure and stress on myself to keep working and putting things out just all the time around the clock or da 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 da. And it's just, I was like, I need to take a step back, focus on myself a little bit, but still not put my business to the side. So kind of forgot what the question was because I was just ranting, but yeah.
I was asking you about outsourcing and how I think it's a really good idea for your business.
Yes.
It gives you
Okay,
that
I guess I
time,
kind of go.
the time that you want. That's exactly what you get with outsourcing, especially for those littler
Exactly.
things. Maybe I know in another interview you said you weren't that fond of pattern cutting. You could outsource pattern cutting
Oh my
or those
gosh.
dust
Yeah.
bags.
Yes. But as fabric cutting is one of the things that it's like you wouldn't think that it takes that long, but it takes me so long to cut out all of my pieces for my patterns. And it's just like, it's one of the things where I'm like, okay, when I hire someone, that's the first person I'm hiring for my business because I just can't keep doing this. It just takes so long and it's so tedious and annoying.
But it's quite an easy job if the pattern is made,
Oh,
right? So
definitely.
you could easily outsource or get somebody in on a contract base and have them stay for
100%.
4 or 5 hours.
Right. Like, it's like if you have the pattern made, it's really just nothing to it. It's really just cutting out, putting the pattern on the fabric and then cutting out the shapes that the pattern has formed. So, like, I make all my patterns and all that. So, for me, it's like I just make the pattern, cut everything out, which takes me so long, and then go from there. But if you have the pattern already made, it's not like a person who's coming in to cut fabric has to make the pattern and stuff. They just have to cut the fabric out.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a very easy person for you to relieve some of your time with.
Exactly, because it's not like you have to be like highly skilled, and it's not like you have to have years of practice behind it. It's just cutting out fabric.
Yeah. Unlike sewing, which takes
Yeah, sewing is
far
a
more
different ball.
practice than you'd believe. Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's really great then. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your business with me,
No
sharing so many of your
problem.
plans, sharing so many of your future goals, all of that jazz.
Definitely.
I really enjoyed speaking to you and getting to know your business on this more deeper is not a phrase, on this deeper level. Yeah, so I just wanted to say a massive thank you, and I really genuinely wish you the best, and I genuinely
Thank
hope you
you.
get a better stylist situation.
Thank you, definitely. And I appreciate you for reaching out to me to do this. I really love watching your videos. I can't, it was so crazy because again, like I said, I had watched your videos and I didn't know that it was your channel. And I was like, that's when I looked and went, I was like, oh my gosh, I literally just watched these two videos. And I was like, that's so crazy.
Thank you so much. That's
But
so
yes, thank you
nice.
so much for having me.
Yeah, I really genuinely enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you too. I did too.
All right, bye.
Bye.